Welcome to episode number 1 of Fill Me In, the first in a series of CEO updates designed to provide you with insight into BriteCore strategy and a little bit of my thinking as CEO. Communication and alignment are critical to our success right now as a growing team, so I hope this serves to promote a unified vision and shared values across our organization. I'll post these to a YouTube playlist and then open up discussion in a Slack channel where you're all welcome to ask questions directly. I hope you enjoy and find these helpful. Good afternoon, everyone. For my very first CEO address, I'd like to focus on the top level goals, values, and objectives of our company. The reason I'd like to begin the conversation here is that many of you are new and you haven't had an opportunity to really spend time with Chris, myself, or the rest of our senior leadership team to understand what it is that we are really doing in the industry and what our cohesive strategy is as a company. And I recognize that without that information, it could feel sometimes like your role may not make sense. You may not be able to connect the dots on why what you do on a daily basis matters. And that's a problem that's squarely in my focus right now and something that I'm actively working to address. And I think the first step there is to articulate who we are, what we are, and why we do what we do in the first place. So with this address, I'm posting 3 Google documents, and it is very important to me that all of you read those 3 Google documents. They are our BriteCore goals, our BriteCore values, and our BriteCore objectives. And I'm going to start with the goals document because it's very short and it's easy to understand. As a company, we have 4 high-level goals that really matter the most. And they are, number 1, software. And we've described that as build elegant solutions to hard problems. And what we mean by that is build software that is great software, that is efficient software, that is maintainable software, that is quality software. But specifically as a company, we aren't trying to solve the lowest common denominator. We're not trying to do the easy, fast things. Our core value in the business community is building solutions to hard problems. And so when a workload that we're trying to tackle seems complex and it seems like the solutions are difficult, it's a good thing for us because all of those complexities are essentially a moat that prevents anyone from coming and trying to compete with us because the problems we're solving are hard and it would be hard for someone to come compete with us. So we care very much about building elegant solutions to hard problems. Number 2 is service. Delight customers with unparalleled service. We use the word delight intentionally because it says more than just meet their expectations. We want to wow customers. We want our customers to think about us and think about an organization that cares deeply, that is willing to go the extra mile, that is really in the trenches with them. And we do that by offering unparalleled service in whatever way that needs to be offered to the customer. Number 3 is culture. Unite people through shared values. So it's very important to us that our culture is cohesive, that as a team, we are moving in the same direction. We're all rowing in the same direction. We're all working towards the same goals and initiatives together. And the way that you accomplish that is by sharing values, by caring about the same things. And then finally, revenue. Build revenue through sustainable growth. So we want to grow the company. We want to grow the company aggressively as we move forward when and where it makes sense to do so. But we are careful to add into that objective that we want to grow through sustainable growth. So it's not acceptable to us to grab short-term gains, go grab money or go grab a project that's really a bad fit, bad cultural fit, a bad product fit. It's going to burn our teams out. If there's any way around that, and we are learning to identify all the time the difference between a great project and a problematic project. And so we want to grow our revenue, but we want to look for sustainable ways to grow our revenue, which what we hope that communicates to all of you is if you're being put in an unsustainable situation, we want to know that so we can help problem solve that. So as a company, our top 4 goals again are build elegant solutions to hard problems. That's our software. Number 2, service, delight customers with unparalleled service. Number 3, culture, unite people through shared values. And number 4, revenue, build revenue through sustainable growth. Now, when we talk about uniting the team through shared values, we've also published out our company's shared values. That's the next document, BriteCore values. This document is a listing of the values that we believe are the most important to drive success inside of BriteCore. That's not to say that these are the only values that matter. I have many personal values, moral values, business values, economic values that are not listed here. But these are the ones that I really, I feel distinguish what we're doing from many other companies in the world. And they're the ones that I think really set us apart and make the difference. So those are productivity, get things done. We are looking for people who get in and actually produce things. If you have ever felt like your job is just having meetings, or your job is just like telling other people what to do, we don't value that. We do value telling other people what to do if the reason you're telling them to do that is because you have personal mastery and you are involved in the project and you understand what needs to be done at a personal, intuitive mastery level. So we are looking for producers inside of our company. Number 2 is quality. And what we've listed here is anything worth doing is worth doing well. So if you're going to work on a project, if you're going to do something, we are expecting you to give it your all. And we are expecting you to hold our company to a high standard, not just for yourself, but for everyone else on your team, including me. So it is never okay for us to hand in work that we feel bad about. And if we do have to hand in work that we feel uncomfortable with because of a time deadline, it is equally critical that we circle back around and put excellent work in behind it to make sure that the things that we are supporting down the road and the ship that we're building will continue to float and will get us across the ocean, right? So quality is number 2. Number 3 is trust. And what we've listed there is assume the best. So we really value trust among team members. The team is too big for everyone to explain to everyone else what we're doing on a daily basis. We want you all to assume that when you don't know the answer to a question, the person on the other side of that equation probably intends something good. They have probably thought through some significant details. They are probably trying hard. They're probably not out to get you. They're probably not trying to undermine you or pull a power play. Those things can be true, right? And there are times where a situation needs to escalate because someone is misbehaving. But those times are very rare, and 90% of the time or more that you end up in sort of political back and forth situations with people, it's just misunderstanding. So extending trust is a thing that we care about a great deal. Number 4, candor. Tell it like it is. No one can fix a problem they don't know about. And there are a lot of companies where if you bring up problems, those are discouraged or you're seen as a squeaky wheel. There are also cultures in the world where dissent is viewed as disrespect. And we do not share that value here. What we believe is that radical honesty, radical candor is what makes teams healthy, right? If there's an issue, we want to know about it. If you have an opinion, we want to hear it. Now, that does not mean that you argue for the sake of arguing. And it doesn't mean that you continue to argue once decisions are made, but it does mean that at the point that a decision is being made, when you're in the process of wrestling with a problem and trying to understand what's going on and what are we going to do about it, we want to hear your opinion, and we want to hear your opinion be a dissenting view. If you truly have a dissenting view, I can count numerous times in my career where a disastrous decision was averted because one person in a meeting of 10 people had the bravery to stand up and say, no, I don't agree with that. So candor matters to us. Number 5, transparency. Take pride in your actions. So it should be true that anything that you are doing, you are happy to show it off and you are happy to expose to the world what you're doing. I view the thoughts in my head, while they're my thoughts and while ultimately a lot of the decisions I have to make do fall to me to make them, I think there's value in me sharing them with you in this video address. There are a lot of problems that are easy to overlook, and there are a lot of opportunities that are easy to miss if you only have one set of eyes paying attention. And so the more the wisdom of crowds and the wisdom of boots on the ground and people actually implementing systems and projects and service agreements, You all know a lot of things, and it is important for everyone around you to be able to understand what you're doing, what the value chain is, what the value is, what the challenges are, so that we can all work together and we can operate as a cohesive organism. So transparency matters to us a great deal. Number 6 is leadership. Empower others. So we don't just want people to come in and be a superstar performer. A lot of times there's a tendency in people who are high achievers, and most of the people in our company are high achievers. There's a tremendous tendency to believe that I'm the best because I've always been the best. I was the best person that I knew at a thing. And so you get used to feeling superior to other people because you're a great performer. And what you learn throughout the course of your career and as you continue to grow is that there's a lot more power in making other people great than there is in just trying to do great things yourself. So you can't lead other people. You cannot empower other people to do great things until you yourself are great. So you can't just walk into a room and start spouting managerial material and hope to be useful as a leader. But once you have achieved personal mastery on a particular domain, that is the time then to take your skill set and the lessons that you've learned and the processes that you've built and transfer that to other people and lead and help them find their own path, make other people great. And that is how you act as a force multiplier on the team. Number 7 is open-mindedness. Those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So believe it or not, you're wrong about things. I'm wrong about things. We're all wrong about things. And we're wrong because we have to operate in the world with a lot of limited information. The human mind relies on heuristics all over the place and assumptions about how the world works and what other people are thinking in order to be effective. And that's a survival mechanism because we would be paralyzed by the need to sit down and analyze every variable in our environment over and over again to validate them. So a level of trust, as we mentioned earlier, is important. And so we trust things and we build opinions off of them, but it's important to recognize that at all points in time, some percentage of the things that you believe are just wrong. And so you need to be open-minded and you need to never dig your heels in about what you think about any particular topic if someone is trying to make a good point. And that's not to say that we're expecting you to cave. Remember, go back to candor, right? We want you to be honest about what you think, but we want in that honesty, we want you to be intellectually flexible and make sure that you are considering other arguments. And the best way I like to describe this to people when I'm counseling them directly is to say, if you can argue the other side of a disagreement, right? So imagine any disagreement, you have your side and this person you're arguing with. If you can argue their side passionately, then you understand them. If you can't, if you're like, I don't know, they're stupid, or I don't know, they don't care, or I don't know, anytime that's your response, you don't really understand the other side and you are not yet open-minded. You're not yet listening to the other side. And the only way you can hope to solve problems is by actually listening and by empathizing. So open-mindedness matters to us. Number 8 is engineering, where we've said, don't bail water, plug the hole. And what we mean by that is engineers are people who design solutions to problems. So technicians are doers, right? Technicians are the people who, stand on an auto line and maybe have great skill assembling, a bumper to a car chassis. But we here at BriteCore, we're not a technician company. We're an engineering company. And what we care about is looking at better ways to design bumpers, better ways to design factory floors, better ways to design the assembly line. Those are analogies, but we're always looking for people who can identify the systemic good and bad in some sort of process or some sort of system and propose solutions to those things and root causes and identify how we could make everything better with new designs. So if at any point in time you find yourself continuing to be frustrated by something over and over again, or you see a huge opportunity that no one's taking advantage of, or a fantastic idea, we want to hear from you. We want you to advance those ideas. We want you to engineer solutions to problems. So don't just treat symptoms, actually go after root causes and really make the world a better place. And then finally, we have learning. So what we've said here is take responsibility for your own knowledge. And all that we're trying to imply there is that information is coming coming at us at a fantastic pace in today's world, especially in the technology sector where the tools and the resources are shifting all the time. You should be reading all the time. I personally listen to a new book every 2 weeks. I probably burn through a book. I think Chris listens to a book every week. I have 5-6 podcasts I listen to regularly. I constantly read articles. I am absorbing new technology. I have a thirst for knowledge and for new skill sets. And if what you do every night is you go home and you play video games, you watch football, or you do whatever else, nothing wrong with that, but you're not getting better if that's what you do with all of your time. And so we really value, and you'll notice that we do our best to promote and put into leadership positions people who are constantly looking for new skills, new information to support what we're doing, because again, we don't know everything. I don't know everything, and all the ideas shouldn't come from me. They should come from all of you. And the more that you read and the more that you learn, the more that you absorb information, the better ideas and the more informed ideas you're going to have. So those are kind of the 9 values that we really believe about in BriteCore, that we believe in. And those go, again, to support our 4 main goals of building elegant solutions to hard problems, delighting customers with unparalleled service, uniting people through shared values, and then building revenue through sustainable growth. So that leads us to the final document that I want to talk about today, which is our BriteCore objectives, which I've also shared with this presentation. BriteCore objectives are centered around a concept that we're going to be rolling out across the company over the coming 3 to 6 months here. And it's going to be governing absolutely everything that we do before long. And I'm going to describe it a little bit. Chris originally started talking about John Doerr, who wrote a book on OKRs, and that stands for Objectives and Key Results. And that can sound businessy, can sound like business speak. And I'd like to take just a second to break down the concept just a little bit for you so you understand them, and then I'm going to refer to a document for you. The idea behind objectives and key results and managing your company this way is that at any point in time, people need to know why they are doing a particular task, and that task is probably in service of some other larger goal, which then in itself is in service of some larger, more business goal. And those things can bubble up to some degree, and you want to make sure that all the activities in your organization are vertically aligned to where we're all working on things that matter. And the way you know they matter is that cascade of objectives, things in service of other things in service of other things, that they all align. And so the way that you do that is by charting out what we call objectives. And objectives are just a way of saying, what is it we're trying to accomplish? And there are lots of ways you can roll out objectives. The way we're going to do it is we have produced a document that is a top-level document called BriteCore Objectives, and that's been shared with you in this channel. That has about 150 objectives that our company is focused on across every department in our company. Now, that's not the same thing as the 4 primary goals, right? So you could view the 4 goals as the very top level objective, the things that we care about the very most. But obviously you can't do something very actionable with, well, make the company more profitable or make the company, the revenue grow. You need that broken down into more actionable items and into smaller goals so you can do something with it. So the purpose of this BriteCore Objectives document is to try to go one at a time through the different value streams in our company, the different ways that we stream value to customers and through our organization. And it lists them out and it tries to break them down into a few hierarchical levels to say, these are the things that we care about. Now, there's a critical request that I have for all of you. This document has been written by myself at the top as the CEO, handed down to everyone else. That is a fine place for this document to start, but that does not mean that the case is closed on this document. So I am asking those of you who have the time and the interest to go take a look at this document, look at the places where you have interest, you have overlap, you're invested, and you have agency to effect this, and read this document and propose suggestions. I've left the document in a state where you can insert comments on it directly. So feel free to highlight and comment. The other thing you can do is in this Slack channel that I have highlighted with this video, you're able to go in and you can just ask questions there and we can have a discussion about it. I want to make sure that the things that I'm saying we care about are also in alignment with the things that all of you see, the opportunities that you see and the problems that you see and all the ways that our company could be better. I want to make sure that we've captured those here. Now, critical in this document, these objectives are sort of your top level by division, by department, the things you're trying to accomplish. Once we've all agreed on this is the document, these are the things, we've had a chance to sort of, work through that and debate that and make sure that we sort of agree this is what our company should be doing. At that point in time, then we're going to begin a process, and we're in fact beginning this right now with all the managers in the company, of charting out time-based objectives on what will probably begin at a monthly basis. And the monthly objectives will be different from this list, and they will be more granular, and they will be in service of this list. So for those of you who've been working in Agile, this is not that different from saying I have a user story that is in service of a sprint, that is in service of a milestone. It's just a way of bubbling up information. But we are trying very hard to make sure that all the activities and all the actions in our company are aligned with our vision and the direction, so that as the company continues to grow, and there are over 200 people here now, that you all know you can self-audit and you can look at what you're doing and say, does what I'm doing make sense? And we want to articulate in all these other values that we have published, that if what you're doing doesn't really make sense with a larger vision, once we've published that to you and you can see it, we want you to raise the flag. We want you to say, hey, I could help accomplish the vision better by doing X or Y. Now that doesn't mean that you all take the authority to just stop doing what your managers have asked you to do. Don't stop doing that. That would be a mistake. But you should bring up those concerns, and those concerns should be debated and elevated when necessary, so that we reach a real decision and we have actually considered that feedback carefully. So I want to expose this document to you. I want you to be able to read this and see this so that you're able to have an active part in that conversation, because what you all think and what you know matters. It matters to me. It matters to Chris. It matters to every vice president, director, and manager in our company. We care about our team, and we want to make sure that good ideas are coming from everywhere. So this objective document has been shared with you. Once we roll out objectives, I'm going to give you a little bit of a peek into the future, and I'll talk about this in subsequent CEO updates. But once we've all agreed on the objectives, and then we've distributed time-based objectives that are scoped to windows of time, we will then be following up with key results. And key results are just a means of measuring whether or not we're accomplishing our objectives. That's beyond the scope of what I'm going to talk about today. We'll dive into those later. But I want you to have a sense of what's coming, where you're going to start seeing, hopefully, really, really thoughtful organization around what we're trying to accomplish, why we're trying to accomplish it, and how your particular daily tasks align to that vision. So that's really everything that I wanted to make sure I touched on in my very first address here. So again, we have BriteCore goals, BriteCore values, BriteCore objectives. I welcome your feedback on all three of those documents. Feel free to comment in the documents. Feel free to reach out in Slack and ping the channel, and I may answer you, someone else may answer you, but I would like to see a healthy discussion there. And I just want you all to know that I am delighted to work with a group of people whose opinions I respect, and I'm excited to see what you all come up with. So thanks a lot, and you will hear from me again in about a month. So